We're live.
Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back, and we finally have our first jury member. And I'm going to be honest, with how everything was shaping up tonight, I'm kind of happy that Desi's the one who went, and Joe and Ben are going to keep on fighting because, my God, that was entertaining. There's a lot to cover in this episode. One of the coolest little reward twists, I think, really ever. And Ryan just playing a step above. I was actually really surprised that Cole played it as smart as he did. I was kind of surprised Chrissy didn't do more than she did. And what Ryan's move was great to make sure Joe didn't know. But we'll talk all about that. We have the idol find. We have a tie vote that somehow leads to the less scary person going home. But I think that this is just more in terms of Desi could actually win the game and forge alliances with people. They're not looking at Joe that way. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here. But I think we also have to talk about Lauren Rimmer is now the most powerful player in this game. She doesn't have an idol like Ryan does or like Mike does, but Lauren's got this double vote coming up that is going to be so powerful because she's never like a target. This isn't somebody who's a huge target having this double vote. This is somebody who's kind of like in the alliance more than like the head of it or the bottom of it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, she's the most powerful player on this season right now, and that is something that I think absolutely no one would have said on week 8 of this, or no one would have expected to say on week 8 of this season. Everyone's shaping up to have like some really good stories. There was a lot of interesting gameplay this episode, a lot of like some good play, decent amount of bad gameplay, but I think you worded this reward challenge really well, because I went to the People TV fan forum and a lot of people were saying, Cole, like how did you not throw at the plate? I can't believe you didn't do that. Can't believe you didn't do that. I thought everyone made a decent move and Ryan just made the best move with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, Cole made an attempt to hide it. Would I be suspicious if I was eating some spaghetti straight up off of a napkin? Absolutely. I think any person would, especially on some kind of reward challenge. But he made an attempt to hide it. This is like a decent version of Cole that we've seen. Chrissy could have gotten rid of it. I think keeping it for Ryan was a good move. Obviously, getting rid of it would have been better, but she probably knew that Ryan was going to do that. I think the only issue that there was with Chrissy was the whispering afterwards, which we can get to in a minute. And then Ryan disposing of it. And then on top of that, Ryan getting that idol, walking away, and then telling Chrissy to go for it. Whether or not it was intentional, he took all the potential heat off of his own back. It was great.
No, what happened there was he told Chrissy he got it. He said, cover that up. I got it. Mm-hmm. That's what he said to her. And then she definitely didn't hear him because he said, he clearly says, cover that up. I got it. And then she starts digging, thinking she needs to dig for it. What I thought was interesting, though, I don't think that Chrissy did know that Ryan was going to throw the plate out. I mean, I don't really think that was something you're thinking of. In that moment, you're so excited that you just found this, that for Ryan to actually think ahead and say, I'm going to hide this, that's like a different level of thinking because you're in a very stressful situation where I think what Cole did is probably what I would have done. Now, I can't say because I'm not in that moment, but you're not thinking as clearly as you would in a normal situation. And you got like a split-second decision to be like, oh, my God, I got to hide this. You're not saying, oh, my God, I got to burn this. You're saying, I got to hide this. And I think what he did was smart, like cover it up, do as best you can. Chrissy, I get, like wanted Ryan to see it, but I don't think that she necessarily knew that Ryan was going to throw it out because she said Joe's going to see it. And Ryan said, no, I hid the plate. So I think Chrissy was just expecting that everybody after her was going to find it because in your head, that's probably what you're thinking when you're in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because that required a lot of trust in Ryan so that Joe, the last person that they would want to get an idol, is able to it won't even see this clue. So you make a good point. Like I probably would have done something similar to Cole because you think, okay, it's really obvious if there's not even a plate at all. I don't remember. Did we talk to Joe? Did Joe talk to us when he was eating? Because there was no comment on the fact that there wasn't a plate.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. I mean, I would have. You're looking for a plate when you get there. I mean, Jeff says it's
because it's a normal thing to do.
You're not going to serve spaghetti on a napkin. You could serve spaghetti on a napkin on a plate, which I think is much more reasonable. But to not have a plate there, I don't know if Joe had like an inkling that was weird. But I definitely would have. I definitely would have been like, no plate. That's interesting. and might have like raised a suspicion. But at that point, what are you going to do? Because you have no idea what would have been on the plate anyway. You just have to keep an eye out for the people who've gone before you, which sucks for Joe because everybody has gone before him.
Yeah, I think it's really easy for us to be an armchair analyst about this, to say, oh my gosh, Joe, how could you have not seen this plate? But he clearly didn't, because there wasn't any suspicion. And when this WWE Monday Night Raw happens in front of the tribe flag, Joe's like the fifth person to jump into it. Like, Joe's a little bit late to that party. So it seems like Cole didn't even tell him about it. So Cole is learning how to play this game. And another thing that's worth mentioning, sorry, I just want to make sure I get this out. Like, I think people have set the bar so low for Cole that anything he does is a terrible move. I actually feel kind of bad for him, because everyone was up his butt about, oh my gosh, like, you made such a big scene. And that's only because he wasn't in their alliance. Cole was doing the right thing. If you're seeing someone dig in front of a tribe flag, what else could they possibly be doing other than looking for an idol? Good on Cole for running out there. Good on Cole for causing a scene about it. And when it comes to whether or not he should have lied about that idol, I think if he lied or if he didn't lie, it could be a good and bad move either way.
I have a lot to say about that, but I want to say something first. This is a lesson to anybody who plays Survivor ever again. I thought this was a great, great twist to have the person who sat out get to choose the order. If you get to choose the order, you sit down and you go first every single time. Because I think that you have to put yourself in a position where Joe could have went in there and said, I'm not eating a damn thing, but I'm looking for something. And this way you have the information. He could have gone in there and easily done that, left a full plate of spaghetti for everybody to have. But he says, I'm going first just in case. Because he knows his back is up against the wall. And I get him going sixth is to try to gain some good grace with people. But by him trying to gain this good grace, he has put himself in a position where he's not going to be able to find this advantage. And at the same time, he's not getting any good grace anyway because he's Joe. It doesn't matter what Joe does. And honestly, Joe might be very annoying, but I do think that they're all starting to lose their cool heart at him. And Ben, I felt bad for tonight, but Joe pushed the right button and Ben had to stop. He had to, because Joe knew what button he was pushing and Ben fell for it. And I feel for Ben because obviously I've never been a Marine. I don't know what he went through, but I know that that is definitely something that he takes to heart very personally. And obviously you have, like he said, this putz in Joe who's aggravating as hell, telling you, hey, you know, you swore on the Marine Corps when you know you didn't. And that's something that you would, you know, that you've literally gone through hell for. Obviously that's going to irk you, but Ben, I think, realized that tribal, like, I need to take a step back. Joe's doing this on purpose. And Joe's saying, I'm not doing it on purpose. Joe's doing it on purpose. Like, get out of here, Joe. Like, you're not fooling anybody. But I think that that's something, like, you saw it get under Ben's skin. You saw it get under Chrissy's skin. Now, you don't want to be getting under the skin of a guy that you're letting stick around because you don't think he can win the game, but who can easily go and find an idol and screw you over. Because right now, if he finds an idol, Ben is number one on his hit list, which is what I want to talk about with the Cole thing, but I'll let you answer if you want. So I don't have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, this episode was so well interwoven because, like, if we're gonna, like, let's go into the Ben and Joe thing. The thing with Joe is, you make your point, like, at the beginning of this episode, he's saying, okay, I got to get back in these people's good graces. I am on the bottom, and then I think he may have realized that he's going to bother people no matter what. At that tribal council, when Ashley said she can't decide if he's really annoying or a good player, he was like, yeah, like, he knows that he's bothering all these people. He completely understands that. So self-awareness is good, but I think he had that moment of self-awareness and then thought, okay, well, if they're not going to like me, I might as well antagonize them and make it obvious that Ben is the clear front runner. And he did expose Ben as a threat. Everyone, I mean, people probably knew that, but they're finally talking about it to us. And so I think that was good, but it's a really to each their own on how worth it is to go that personal. But I didn't find that to be really necessary. I think there were other ways to expose Ben as a huge threat other than targeting something that he is very serious, is very important to Ben. And I think Ben's reaction was completely normal, completely natural. I would have probably been equally as angry, but I don't know if I would have been a big enough person as Ben is to then have the strength inside me to apologize.
Well, and I think
afterwards.
I think this all comes down to, where's Joe from? Do we know where Joe's from? Is he from?
I think he's from the Bronx.
The Bronx. Okay.
I could be really off on that.
it's this whole thing of Joe plays the old school. He's an old school personality where it's, if you're pissing me off, I'm going to aggravate you more. And that's what Joe is looking to do here. And he needed to rile up Ben. He had to get Ben flustered here. And he did. Because right now everybody's looking at Ben going, that is the man. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected, he's such a nice guy. He gets along with everybody. Yeah, he doesn't like Cole, but nobody likes Cole. So what the hell does it matter? Joe knew that his best move to show that Ben was a threat was to also show that Ben can lose his cool. And tonight Ben lost his cool. And like you said, I probably would have lost my cool too. If you do something that's that personal with me, I don't really think that I have something that would make me I would hope that in the game of Survivor, I could say to myself, okay, it's the game of Survivor. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. But like at the same point, you don't know when you're starving, when you've been out there for so long. Like I don't think I have something like that would cause me to be like, Joe, like I hate you with a passion. But it's interesting that they then decided to keep Joe around. I guess they thought Desi could work her way in more, but Joe can wreak a lot of havoc. And the one thing people are not looking at, they all think that Cole has an idol, which is funny because he doesn't. But obviously next week, Ryan's going to say he has the idol to these people. They don't know Mike has an idol. And if those three healers really want to stick together, Joe's going to be searching like crazy for some sort of advantage. And there might not be one, but there's going to be paranoia in your head now. If you keep Desi around, I don't feel like you have the paranoia because I just feel like it's like, okay, she might be able to weasel her way in. Don't let her weasel her way in. And once somebody gets on the bottom, vote them out before Desi. Like Desi was somebody who could win immunities, but I think you could get rid of. Joe would make me have sleepless nights.
Yeah, I think getting rid of Desi was as a viewer, I think it was the wrong move because exactly like what you said. Yes, Desi's super likable. She could win. I mean, she has this immunity win under her belt. She's clearly very well liked and well respected. But why do you get rid of that person so early? Because Desi probably isn't going to win every single immunity challenge. We saw that she didn't win it tonight, but keeping the person who you know, every single person there has said that Joe is the biggest threat out there. Every single person has said Joe's definitely going for an idol. So why do you give him another chance? That's why I was so confused. And when it comes to these healers staying together, I think they're completely broken up because Mike last week could have said something about his idol. This week, he definitely could have said something about his idol, completely flipped it upside down, and he didn't. And I think it's really smart of him to be saving this idol, presumably for himself and himself alone. That is most likely what I would do if I had an idol. I wouldn't want to tell anyone about it. But Mike, I'm pretty sure Mike brought Cole over to vote with that larger group, and those healers were really like shattered apart because Desi voted for Lauren, Joe voted for Ben. They clearly were not all on the same page. So I don't see why Mike would want to stick with either of them, knowing that both Joe and Cole are just despised by the rest of the group.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, that's why you might want to stick with them is because Mike could get to the final three with the two of them, and he's got he's winning that 10-0. He's you know he's sweeping that. One thing I do want to talk about here is another moment where Ben let his emotions get the best of him. And this one I don't think was as necessary. I think with the Marine one, I totally understand it. This one I don't. And this could have totally screwed Ben had he been talking to, I think, a better player than Cole. Ben yelling at Cole that he has the idol and it was a stupid move. All Cole has to do is look at him and say, yeah, and I'm voting for you. All he has to do. Because by Ben yelling that Cole has the idol, and he really thought Cole had the idol, all Cole has to do is say, yeah, and guess what? Me, Joe, Desi, Mike, we're voting for you at the next tribal. Because then Ben's got to take a step back and go, oh, crap. And they know that he really does have that. Everybody else now feels safe flushing that idol. And they don't mind that because they know I'm going to get the rest of the votes. Oh, no, what do I do? Because Ben was too aggressive here. But Cole didn't have the right response because Cole kind of clammed up and kind of looked like the sad kid who just didn't really know how to react. He feels like he messed up, but he didn't know what to do. And I feel like he could have done more with it. But I also think that him saying, I just tucked it in my pants, by him looking so guilty, it actually made it better. But I still think like Ben's got to watch himself here because he's putting a target on himself because everybody else is saying, well, Cole's just going to vote for him. I don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, I'm Cole's biggest defender tonight. I'm going to defend him on his lie because when the entire tribe is literally on top of you, and also the tribe flag has also fallen on top of you.
Yes, it almost killed Devin too.
Yeah, and Ashley was like, "Oh no, stop!" The whole scene was amazing. It was a great scene. But if I'm Cole, everyone's staring at me. I know that I would not be able to do the mental math that quickly of, okay, is it more beneficial for me to lie and say that I don't have an idol, or be honest and say, I don't, I'm going to strip a la JP, and someone in your own alliance has an idol and force them to eat themselves. Now that I'm talking it out loud, that's probably what I would have done. But in that moment, he knows he's on the bottom. He knows that he might not win an immunity challenge. So keep the bluff. Keep the bluff. I'm totally with him on that. When it comes to Ben, we had a really complex episode with Ben. And I think I was talking to some people before the forum tonight, and I heard from a lot of people who aren't liking this season, and they're saying that there's no one to root for. But I think part of the reason why I am liking this season so much is because the production isn't afraid to show us that all of these people are complex. We're seeing a lot of positives and a lot of negatives of Ryan, Cole, Joe, Ben, Chrissy, of so many players. And Ben is being aggressive, and for the people who he doesn't like, he makes that very clear. But Ben has proven to be a incredibly level-headed person, very self-aware, very understanding, wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a really interesting person, as are all of these other people who we've named. And that's why I am enjoying this, because we aren't getting clear-cut heroes and villains. We're being shown these people for who they are.
It almost reminds me a little bit of Gabon, where there's nobody necessarily to root for, but if you can go along for the ride. I know Will and I love Gabon. I forget where you rank on it, just because I know Will loves it so much. Like, that's top 5 season.
I'm pretty into it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's not like top 5, but I like it.
Yeah, I really like Gabon, because I think the thing is, you don't necessarily need your hero, and you don't necessarily need your villain, even though that season clearly had its villains. You don't necessarily need somebody that you root for every week. I like the complexity of tonight. I'm sitting there watching it be either Joe or Ben, and tonight I actually wanted Joe to survive it more than I wanted Ben to survive it. But last week, I wanted Chrissy, I wanted Jessica to stay and Chrissy to go, and had that happen, I'm probably rooting for Joe to go tonight. So I like the complexity of every week my opinion kind of changes on who it is. I'll tell you one thing, I could totally see Devin being Maddie, getting 4th place, and being the guy who just misses out, and that's the guy we all wanted to win. Because there's nobody more likable on this season right now than Devin. And he's not getting this huge hero edit, nothing like that. I think he's more likable than Dr. Mike. I think he's more likable than Lauren. I think he's just the most likable person out there right now. When he was giving that whole speech about being some bright light or whatever, and it was almost nonsense, but at the same time it made complete sense until he was like, I don't even know what I'm saying, because I think he was just like, what, I am turning into a goober here. It was great though. Like, Devin's a genuinely likable dude who's out there having a really good time, and I could see him getting so close and falling just short. We don't have our David of this season. We don't have our Jay of this season. We don't have our Aubrey of this season. But that's okay. You don't necessarily need that to make it a good season. I enjoy not knowing who I'm supposed to root for. I enjoy the Game of Thrones aspect of things, where you sit down and you watch it and you're like, do I actually want to survive this? And that's how I felt tonight. I could not believe that if there was a coin in the air and it said heads is Joe, tails is Ben, I'm probably saying I want it to be tails and Ben to go home. Like, I can't believe I was sitting there saying that to myself.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Game of Thrones thing, because my parents are watching Breaking Bad right now for the first time, and it's really fun watching it with them, because they're like, oh, Walt is so cool, but Skyler's also really smart too, and also Hank. Like, they're all. What's so great about the show Breaking Bad is that everyone is a good guy and a bad guy. They're all terrible, terrible people, but they have good in them somewhere, because people are complex, and all of these characters, all these players we've been talking about, they are complex. And we spent so many months and a lot of this offseason talking about how we don't want cookie cutter heroes. I don't want to watch a preseason video and then be like, I don't know. this person just has merge boots screaming out, or this person is going to be the under the radar, whatever. I don't want that. I want to see these people play. I want to see them for who they are. I want to see the good and the bad of them. And I'm seeing a lot of that. So like you said, I enjoy not knowing who to root for. I enjoy seeing how they're all eventually going to have to interact with each other come the end, whether or not they'll own up to their games, whether or not they'll be bitter about whether or not they're voted out. I'm really happy with it. I hope that other people can appreciate, the people who aren't enjoying the season, I hope that they can appreciate this season for that aspect.
Yeah, and who knows what'll end up happening here going down the line. I mean, there's still so much game left to be played. We have Lauren, who has 2 votes. We have Mike, who has an idol. We have Ryan, who has an idol. Ryan's going to be running around telling people next week. I still don't know who is actually going to win, and I love that feeling. Like, I love the feeling of, like, Ben should be such a clear-cut hero, but he's not. There's still something about him that makes you say, I don't want to root for this guy. Lauren is probably right now becoming the hero of the season, as ridiculous as this is. But what was more selfish than what she did tonight by playing that advantage to make sure she had it for the rest of the game, which is smart and it's good for her alliance. But at the same time, by her doing that, she's putting it in a position where it's like one person has to flip. Granted, she knew that Dr. Mike wasn't going to, so she wasn't really too worried. But she was like, we can't split the votes because I have to play this advantage. And it's showing. She's playing this, like she said, she's playing this for her and for her daughter. That's the heroic moment. But then she's also saying, my whole alliance can go down in flames, which is kind of like your little villainous moment. There's a lot of complex moments from everybody here. Cole, I think, tonight was probably the underdog hero that we're supposed to be rooting for, because you feel bad for the guy. What did he do wrong? He figured something out finally. He finally figured out how to play the game for 3 seconds, and then he went and took a piss. Like, what is wrong with him? But then he goes back and he's going to dig it up, and he's wrestling with people, and, they all realize that it doesn't even matter, and he gets blamed for it anyway. And I wanted him to win that immunity challenge so bad. Like, so bad. No matter who went home, I wanted Cole to win that immunity challenge so bad so that it screwed up all of their plans, and I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, and I want him to win too, because it's just, they're all just hating on him now. They're all just jumping on him. And like I said earlier, if the roles were reversed and it was someone in that alliance, they wouldn't have been mad at all. Of course, of course you're on the chopping block. You're going to go run after an idol. What else would you be doing other than peeing, apparently?
Yeah.
But when you mentioned that about Lauren, you brought up a good point. She said, I'm playing this and you're going to deal with it. And Ben bent over backwards to get it. He brought in Dr. Mike. So that Ben and Lauren relationship is going to be very tight. The only thing I'm afraid of is more people finding out about this advantage. But I saw a lot of people, I saw some people commenting on this, and people were saying in person, like, oh, it's not going to be that hard for her to, for her to just switch this in the urn. But I think it was in Millennials versus Gen X. Hannah purposely moved her arm in a certain way to make it seem like she was writing down a different name than she actually was. I think either they're close or they're actually able to see where the voting urn is. Yeah. Because if you saw, when she just flicked that little parchment and kept her entire body still the whole time. And I'm kind of going down a different rabbit hole here, but at the fan forum, a lot of people were talking about, Andrea brought up Chrissy's exceptionally loud whispering, which we've now experienced twice. And what's so funny about that is Dalton Ross said that before Tribal Council, Jeff Probst actually teaches them how to whisper during their voting confessionals, because if you whisper too loud, people will hear you. So Jeff is actually giving them whispering lessons, and Chrissy is still whispering too loud.
Well, and that's the beauty. That's why, like, to go back to Gabon, the Crystal Cox vote read is one of the greatest things. Her voting confessional is one of the greatest confessionals ever, because that was when Jeff really said, no, I tell them how much their voice carries, and I tell them that all she has to do is speak at a normal tone. She wanted to scream that at the top of her lungs. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's just, it's funny because the interesting part with Chrissy's edit right now is that she's almost being shown as, like, not as aware as she thinks she is.
Mm-hmm.
With the Ben thing, she's whispering in front of everybody, just like, oh, they won't notice. They won't notice. And then you have her tonight being like, oh, Cole's not that smart. Cole was that smart. Cole knew that. Cole did that. She's underestimating a lot of people. And you go with the opposite of that, which is Dr. Mike, who's like, man, I've never been to tribal, but now I realize, man, everybody's here playing the game, and I wasn't even playing the game. Like, you have to give people credit in this game, because if you're assuming they're dumber than you, that's when you get Tysoned. That's when you're just gone. You have to assume everybody's smarter than you so that you can think ahead of them. And right now, it's kind of interesting that Chrissy, who had the actuary confessional early on where she's like, I have to plan out everything so far ahead, is starting to underestimate people because she can't. Because the second she does, she's going to go home, or she's not going to get as many votes sitting next to somebody like Brad did with Sarah last season.
What I fear for Chrissy is, just by reading exit interviews, I'm curious to see what Desi has to say. By reading exit interviews, people are saying that, like, something similar to what you're saying about Chrissy. And I fear for her that if she gets to final tribal council, that people will be angry or upset because they have a perception that she thinks she's better than them, whether or not she actually does. I'm going to think she doesn't, because I think Chrissy's a very good person, but perception is reality on Survivor. So I hope that is able to be changed slightly. I don't really know how that will really work, because I think now her current alliance does really respect her. But for that, I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, if I'm sitting on a couch, and then you're sitting to the left of me, and then this is my left, and then someone else is sitting next to you. If you and that person are even moving, I can sense it. Like, when you're that close to someone, you can just sense if their lips are moving. And also, if they're whispering, Cole knows that he saw that clue. So I just thought that was a very, like, egregious attempt at strategizing.
Well, it's like one of those, like, I don't know if anybody, this will make Will happy if he actually is playing the game, or if he's listening to this podcast, but if anybody plays like those games like Werewolf or whatever, like One Night Werewolf or Mafia, people, if you're like trying to like whisper to the person next to you, that's all anybody's paying attention to. Because that's like the name of the game is who is getting an advantage and who is giving their information to somebody else, and how are they trying to better their own game. And you have to have a heightened sense to that at all times. And you look at like Cole. Now, granted, Chrissy didn't know that Cole had seen it, but Cole saw it, and he is laying there going, are Chrissy and Ryan going to find it? Are Chrissy and Ryan? So he has a heightened sense to this right now. He has a heightened sense of like, oh man, are they coming for me? Did they find it? Are they going to be talking about it? But Chrissy's assuming that he can't be that good. And the second that happens is when she gets caught. And she got caught tonight. She got very lucky that Ryan found it instantly. Because if Ryan doesn't find it instantly and Chrissy actually was digging for it at that point, Cole's getting it, because Cole put her in the sand. I mean, he just removed her from the hole that she had just dug. So it was a good thing that Ryan had already found it. And I think Ryan is not underestimating people. He knew he had to go and hide the plate. He knew that there was a chance that people could find it. Like, he knew that Cole actually had a chance to see the thing. Like, he's not underestimating people. And that's a real big key if you're gonna go on to win the game.
Yeah. And one thing, like, a little more lighthearted that I thought was hilarious about Chrissy, and I'm probably going to tweet this at her. She sees that clue, and she just goes like, shut the F up. And then she covers her mouth. Like, that would be me. That's kind of like Amanda in her first season, when I forget what happens, but she was like, oh, I hope my mom doesn't see this. And of course they put that part on camera. It was it was so candid. It was super funny. So Chrissy, if you're listening, I thought that was adorable.
Yeah, it was funny. And that's the whole thing though. Like, she's about to do something bad, but here's a cute, like, little funny moment before that. And I think that's what this season is full of right now. Like, you can't sit here and say Ben's the villain or Joe. I don't even think Joe was the villain. I felt a little bad for Joe tonight. Now, granted, Joe's all over the place, and I don't think Joe needs people to feel bad for him. But Joe tonight, it's kind of like the same thing when you watch Tony and Kagayan. There's certain points where you're like, man, he's like a little kid. Like, man, I kind of feel bad for Tony. And I feel like that was Joe tonight, where, like, when Chrissy turns around and says, literally nobody wants to listen to you talk anymore, you don't need to do that. And I get that you're sticking up for Ben. Like, I get it.
I mean, to be fair, Ben was in the middle of saying something very heartfelt.
But the thing is, even when people are in the middle of saying something very heartfelt, now, granted, I'm taking Game Changers out of the situation. just before that even goes there. But you have to sit there like a stone. When other people are arguing, you just have to let it happen, especially when it's Joe and Ben and you already know that they're at each other's throats. Mm-hmm. You have to remember, like, you're going back to the island with that person. They had made up their minds already. They were going to vote out Desi. That's what they had decided. So you have to know you're going back to the island with Joe. Don't sit there and say literally nobody wants to listen to you talk anymore. You have to do kind of what Ashley did, where it's like, do I know, like, is he a really good liar or is he just really good at being annoying or whatever? You have to kind of do
compliment.
Exactly, where you're pretty much insulting the person, but you could still be complimenting them. By what Chrissy did, look, she defended Ben. That's fine, but I still think that you should probably, in that situation, 9 times out of 10, take a back seat and let them do it themselves, because all that's doing is going to hurt you.
Yeah, you're right. I get that. I think, like, that's the thing. I think a lot of this episode, and now that we're talking it out, I'm kind of getting it more. A lot of this episode had moments that were sort of decided on a dime. Like, what you do with this, what do you do with this clue? What do you do when the Majority Alliance is accusing you of having an idol? What do you do when someone who has clearly poured their universe into something they care about so much, Ben with the Marines, and you have this putz, which is my favorite insult. You have this putz, like, diving into that in such an, like, insensitive way. So naturally you're going to come to his defense. So I think it's so easy to say that this episode was so full of bad gameplay, but I think it was full of natural reactions, which probably is bad gameplay, but I don't think any of it was outwardly bad. I think a lot of these moments just happened because they're the natural thing that did.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like, once you make the moment, once you say this is the way I'm going, once Cole says I don't have the idol, I know what you're talking about, I tucked my pants. Once you go with your initial decision, you have to stick with it, because you can't just turn around and be like, oh no, now I'm going to do a 180 because nobody's going to believe you. So they all put themselves in a position where it's like, well, I'm stuck now, got to keep going with it. And really, I think they all thought that tonight Joe was going to play an idol for himself. I think they all expected it. And that might be another reason why I probably vote out Joe tonight instead of Desi. It's because what if he did have an idol and he just decided he had the balls to not play it this time? Like, and I don't think that, I mean, you'd have to be crazy not to do it. But maybe he is.
Balls of steel.
But he's crazy. I mean, we saw JT do it in Game Changers where he had no idea that he was going, but, like, still in that situation, you almost have to be like, dude, they all hate me. You need to play this idol. I really think that the way that this went down for Joe, they were all anticipating an idol play. And for him to not do it, I'm really surprised Joe's still sitting there in the final 10. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. And I just remember I haven't done hot takes in a while because I haven't been at a computer after the episode. But one of my first hot takes was that Joe is going to go home the first tribal council he goes to. I was super wrong about that one. And that's why they're hot takes, people. They're usually not very accurate. But it blows my mind that he's still here. I mean, the first tribal council went really well for him, and things have just gone downhill more and more. But he should have gone home a long time ago.
Yeah, and I almost think that it's like people are looking at him as like he can find idols, but he said it perfect tonight. There's bigger threats than an idol hog like me, and he's right. There are bigger threats. I just think when there's 11 people left, there's enough paranoia in who's really in my alliance. Where do I rank in that alliance? Where does this go? What other advantages are out there? If you're definitely never going to align with Joe, like pretty much that entire alliance that voted out Desi tonight isn't, why would you let him stay in the game? Like, that is like keeping Russell at final, if you have a chance to get rid of Russell, you get rid of Russell. You do not keep Russell. And that's this.
I don't know. I'm really, this vote, and this isn't just because I love Desi, like, I just don't know why they chose her. So I know that Desi probably won't have the answers in her exit interviews, but looking forward to, like, just hearing why people decided to do that.
And I did look at the live chat. This is a great question here. 10 votes were red.
Oh, that's yes. We need to talk about that.
So are people sitting there going, what the hell?
So I didn't notice this, but someone pointed out that on the revote, see Joe counting. It's probably, I mean, I'm assuming like I would probably be counting out loud every time a vote is read, but I think because it was such a weird vote with, at one point we had 4 different names up there. So it was such a weird vote that like, it's easy to lose count. And Andrea said on her forum that as soon as you see your name, you black out. Like you are just unaware of what's going on. But I bet walking back to camp, there's some number crunching going on, and it's not just Chrissy doing it. I think that's going to come up.
And I think we saw Joe do it when Jeff said final vote read, and then it was somebody went up to vote for the first time. Joe was sitting there going, wait. It was right before the people had voted. He was already going. It was before they even did the second vote. He was like, wait a second. Because you're saying to yourself, I got 4, Desi got 4. Ben got 1, Lauren got 1. Where's the other vote? You have to be sitting there saying that to yourself. And I think that's going to be interesting if it gets brought up. And I'd be kind of surprised if it doesn't. You would think that it's going to. But I wonder if anybody would own up to it. Like, I doubt that Lauren's going to say anything or Ben's going to say anything. So it's one of those, like, well, what if Joe just walks back in and goes, dude, there were only 10 votes. There's 11 of us. What the hell? And you have to be thinking like that. That has to be something you bring up to somebody, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you wonder, I thought was it Millennials versus Gen X when Sunday, is it Sunday like leans into Brett and she says Ken and Adam's like, it's Ken. And then everything changes. Yeah. That I would probably do that. Be like, whoa. Only 10 votes are read. There's 11 people here, just like to purposely cause pandemonium, because at that point, that's what you want. But it might have been it's probably one of those moments where it's never happened before. And so you're thinking, my math has got to be wrong, or something's got to be wrong here. I would be doubting myself in that situation, because why would someone not vote? If with all these like advantages and idols and things that are changing, if anything, you add a vote or actively take someone's away. You never take your own away.
Wow. So, okay. Sorry to interrupt you. The EW interview with Jeff Probst, where he does his like weekly questions, he says nobody noticed the missing vote.
Are you reading that right now?
I just pulled it up. I didn't know if he was going to have it up yet or not, so I just went to search because I know he always talks about stuff. And there were 11 players at Tribal, but only 10 votes were read. Lauren played her advantage, and nobody noticed it. Or did some people ask, but about it got cut in the editing? And Jeff goes, cut in the editing? Are you nuts? We were hoping someone would notice and have it cause an issue back at camp. That was the risk Lauren was taking. But as you'll see next episode, barely a word was spoken. One reason for this, and a reason we felt safe trying this, that expert Survivor fans know I don't always read all the votes. I only read as many votes as I need to until we know the verdict. So you have 8 votes and only one player gets 5, then it doesn't matter whom they are anyway. So it's interesting because in a tie vote situation, Jeff always does read every single vote to let you know. Like, he would have read 2 votes Lauren, 1 vote, Ben, and then 3 votes Joe, 3 votes Desi, and then read the last 2. But in this situation, when it's not every vote being, like, if it was 5-5, you're going, wait a second. But maybe because there were 4 names out there, you're just saying, oh, the other vote must have just been a waste for somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's, like I said, I probably would have doubted myself. And maybe that's crazy that none of them figured that out. That is crazy. Nuts.
Yeah.
Because you'd think, I mean, there's a long time in between the end of tribal council and actually getting back to camp. And I know I would just be probably very incorrectly number crunching back and forth every single vote that I go to. So, yeah, you wonder. But then at the same time, if there's another throwout vote, if there's a throwout vote at Chrissy, why not show it? But then at the same time, I'm not starving and losing my allies. So, of course, I can sit here and say that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know.
That's crazy.
It is really crazy, though. It really is.
That's nuts.
All right, you want to do some comments so that we can actually do those?
Yeah, let's go on Twitter.
Or we could do MVP, LVP too. Oh
yeah, let's do that because I always forget. I am going to go with Ryan as a clear MVP. He had a couple rough patches where people were throwing LVP votes at him, but I think he's very confidently the MVP. He was the only person who actually disposed of that clue. He got the idol. No one, well, let's talk in the episode of this context only. Only Chrissy knows that he has that idol. he found a way to get that idol so smoothly and then have Chrissy do the dirty work for him. And then all of a sudden you have Chrissy, you have Ben, everyone's going for it. He's proven himself to be less of a threat because I think people are looking at Chrissy and Ben before they're looking at him. He's in a really great position. And for LVP, I'm sorry, Phil, but I'm gonna have to throw it at Joe.
No way.
He lost to Allie. He's not getting anyone.
Joe should have gone home tonight. There's no way Joe can be LVP because Joe did not go home tonight.
No, but he can be LVP. Of course he can be LVP.
He can't be LVP because Joe is the craziest person in this game. And for them to not vote him out tonight, but him to still get under Ben's skin, Joe is not LVP.
He got LVP last week. He should have gone home last week.
He should, yeah, but he got LVP last week because he played an idol for himself while he was never going to get the votes.
He actively antagonized the majority alliance.
Yeah, but it's working. Like he didn't go home tonight, but it saved him time. If he doesn't antagonize Ben, I think Joe ends up going home tonight. I think they're looking at Joe as somebody that they can beat, and that's why they're going to keep him around. But all you got to do is keep on surviving. That's all you got to do.
I think his performance is worthy of an LVP. I'm going to have to stick with that.
There's no way. There's no way.
We'll have to let the fans decide.
Yeah, the fans will decide, and Joe is not the LVP. There's no way.
So who is your blatantly obvious LVP?
I don't have a blatantly obvious LVP. Why does that have to be blatantly obvious? I don't understand that.
Well, who do you have?
For LVP? I got to think about it. I will say that oh shoot. I just dragged JP down. I'm trying to do your fantasy game and I dragged JP instead of Desi. So do you still want JP on your team or should I just
did you just donate him to another team?
Yeah, you want to just donate him to the bottom. Anyway. I will say that my team is only Joe, Cole, and Ashley. So I'll say right now that I'm gonna say Cole was MVP tonight because people think he has an idol. And the bigger threat of Joe is still left, and he actually won immunity to save himself. So I'll say Cole did everything he needed to do tonight as well as he could. He shouldn't have gone and taken the P when he did, but I think in an episode where nobody really had a perfect episode, I actually was surprised that you threw Ryan out as your MVP. I probably would have said Lauren because I think this was the best episode for Lauren. Mm-hmm. I probably would have thrown her out there instead of Ryan, but I think it could be either of them. I really do think, though, I'm not just saying Cole because he's on my team. I think that Cole did everything he needed to tonight with his back up against the wall. And in a situation now where people are saying Cole has an idol and Joe is still left in the game, I think things kind of look up for Cole where he could survive another couple tribals here. Because you don't want to just throw votes at him to try to flush this idol that may or may not exist. He didn't play one that night, but he also had immunity around his neck. And he won the immunity tonight to keep in their heads, damn, Cole might still have an idol. Now, granted, Ryan's going to run around telling everybody, but that might actually put more of a target on Ryan's back because he's telling his two closest allies who are going and talking to each other. Always fun. So granted, I'm looking too far in there, but yeah. I don't think that I'm going to say Cole for MVP. And I'm going to I think that in a social game, Joe can't win. And I get Joe is a guy who's always antagonizing and all that. But I think tonight Joe got the better of Ben. And I would say Ben was LVP because I think that he got the better of Ben. And I think Ben put himself in a very vulnerable position. And he said it perfectly tonight. He said, I'm not mad that Joe tried to make me angry. I'm mad that I allowed myself to get that angry. And I think that that's very self-aware, but I also think that it's a weak moment. It worked out for him, but he also Joe's still in the game. And it's just like what Joe said when Alan went home. Could you imagine going back to that camp with Alan? Ben needed to get rid of Joe tonight because there is going to be havoc for the rest of this game when the two of them are in there.
Yeah, I'm hoping for Ben's sake it's not too little too late with people knowing how much of a threat he is and how angry, how not that it's easy to get under his skin, but the fact that people can get under his skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And yeah.
Oh, do you want to finish your sentence? I was going to say.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm trying to. Survivor Patty, in what ways could Lauren use her advantage to further herself in the game? I hope she uses it to double cross her alliance members. Yeah, we've been seeing a relationship between her and Dr. Mike. We haven't seen it super, it hasn't really been shoved in our faces, but we know that they are really tight. So, if Lauren and Dr. Mike team up and they have an idol and Sexter vote, that could be really good for them. But I think Lauren will be smart about it. I hope that with her telling Ben, other people aren't going to find out. But I think she knows that she has a decent amount of longevity in this game, and I think she will use it smartly.
Can everybody hear the person vacuuming above me?
Is that what that sound is?
Who the hell vacuums at 10 p.m.? Like on a Wednesday? like go to bed. Like
it sounds like humming.
It's just them. I don't even think they're vacuuming anything up. I think they're just going back and forth over the same spot. Who vacuums at 10 p.m. in an apartment complex? Who does that? Anyway, those are the important questions. I think that Lauren is definitely going to wait to use this. I just think she wanted the option for the entire game, which I think is really smart of her. Why keep that in your pocket and not vote at a different tribal? There's very rarely a time when you don't have to vote. So why not do it now when you know that there's 8 people going one way, and then you have this for the rest of the game? And I think it's very smart.
Sure.
And I think she is going to end up using it to double cross some people.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We have Survivor Patty. Why did Lauren tell Ben about her secret advantage? I don't think this is a dumb move at all. I think it's a good move because I think Ben really, really, really trusts Lauren. And I think that by her telling him, she's also saying, look, I really, really want to align with you, but this can benefit us later down the line. I need to use this now. So plan accordingly.
Yeah, and that was the thing. That Ben wanted to split the vote, so Lauren would have – I mean, that would really screwed up the entire plan if Lauren didn't tell him.
Yeah. 100%.
Steel Punch. Overall, wasn't a fan of the episode. Lauren's advantage was not explained well, and Joe got a reward by luck, not right. I thought Lauren's advantage was explained.
Yeah,
fine.
There
were more layers than usual to it. The thing with Joe is I think we're gonna see a comment in a little bit about it. Someone preferred Dan's position in Nicaragua, where you pick a team first, and that's like the team who you're committed to, rather than like winning the lottery. But we've seen all different like facets of that twist before.
Yeah, but I love this because it added the dimension of then Joe also has to go and pick the order they all eat in. I thought that was great. Like, I love that. I'm like so down for that.
I like advantages that are only an advantage if you do them right.
And I won't lie, I found myself laughing at this episode more than any other time. I think this is my favorite episode of the season so far. Like, there were so many moments in the episode where I was just so entertained that, like, I found myself just being like, oh my God. Like, every person who went up to eat the food saying, oh, I'm only going to eat this much. And you have Devin eating maybe a little bit more, and then JP being like, I'm going to eat a fifth. I eat my share. I get out of here. I walk over there. Like, I love it. I think it's great. Like, he's not even thinking anything game related. He's just saying, I'm going to eat. I'm a loyal guy, whatever. I loved all the personalities meshing right there and how this all worked out. I like the end result because I like the fact that we get this really big feud still going. So I thought this was definitely my favorite. This is definitely my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, this was a fun episode. I really liked it.
Charles McDavid, your team is struggling.
I do
like the Jeff Probst stand up though. We have Survivor Patty say, I see fracture coming up between Ben and Ryan. Will Devin betray Ryan and side with Ben? Will it benefit his game more to do so? If yes, tell me why. I think it can benefit Devin to side with Ben at some point because Ben is always going to be a bigger target. Ryan might not always be a bigger target. And Devin's not really causing any feud with anybody, but Ben clearly has his doubters.
Yeah, and if you look at it on the other side, I wrote about this in my MVP spotlight of Devin. People are going to underestimate him because he does have this surfer bro laid back vibe. And I think people will align with Devin thinking that he'll kind of just puppy dog with them until the end. But I don't think that'd be the case for Devin at all. I think he's really playing.
Yeah, I think Devin. I really like the way Devin's playing. I don't know if he's going to win, but I really like the way he's going at right now.
And Gamer Girl is the one who brought up the Nicaragua twist. Survivor Patty Ashley seems to really want Joe gone. Is her speaking out of tribal council against him? Will that put her game in jeopardy? I think it won't put her game in jeopardy only because she's in such a large majority. And if Joe does find himself in the idol, I don't think Ashley is the one that he would go for first because I think they do have some predetermined relationship based on their time on the Levu beach. But like you said, if there are two people fighting, don't throw your hat in the ring.
Yeah. I think that's the most important thing you can do in this game is never like throw your hat in somebody else's business, because it's always good if somebody else is fighting. That's good for you. People say that all the time. Survivor Patty, what is it with Chrissy whispering right in front of Cole? She is getting really sloppy in her discretion. Is it too much arrogance? I just think she's underestimating people. I think I said underestimated 8,000 times tonight. So that's where I stand on that.
Survivor Patty, again, I think it was Ryan and Chrissy making the decision on sending Desi home. Did you see Ryan's reaction when Desi said to Jeff that it's temporary that she's getting that immunity necklace back? Yeah, Ryan had a very clear reaction to that, which I thought was interesting. I saw they teased that earlier this afternoon, and I thought that was funny. We'll probably never get an explanation on it because it was so quick, but that was like an eyebrow raise that you make when you're really kind of disgusted with something. Like that wasn't a haha eyebrow raise. That was like an okay, Desi, please chill kind of eyebrow raise. So that would make sense because from what we saw, there was never any animosity towards Desi in this game. If anything, it was quite the opposite. So that could be. I mean, that's a really good theory for why that happened.
Survivor Patty, I wonder how long the situation will last before everyone notices JP is an excellent GOAT to drag to the end. Plus, he's a wild card on challenges. He could go on immunity run. Yeah, JP's pretty damn good at the challenges. Him with a slingshot. We didn't really talk about the reward challenge, but I thought that blue team strategy was interesting because I was like, this isn't working. Like, you just keep sending up one person at a time, and then, like, if Devin hits it, he's got to run down so JP can run up and hit it. But the thing was, Ashley missed so much that the other team just couldn't make up the time, so it actually ended up working for them. But at first, I was like, damn, they're just running these people up, and then they're just going to use their last two people, but they might be too far behind by then. Ashley had to get off and then let Desi get up there to at least give it a shot. But it was an interesting strategy that really paid off, and JP, like, killed it, and he almost ended up winning the damn immunity, too. And I love his reactions when he loses. They're fantastic.
Yeah, his losing reactions are funny. And when those teams broke up, I mean, you're looking at that blue team, and you're like, okay, well, they're going to wipe the floor with the other team. But the red team hung in there, too. But I think people are realizing that about JP. They're probably just not talking about it because it's, like, too early to be talking about that, at least in a confessional.
Yeah. Joey Jojo, shouldn't Devin have eaten all the spaghetti, then blamed it on a serious case of the munchies? There you go with the surfer.
I don't know. Yeah, what was in that spaghetti? Gamer Girl, why didn't Cole think of a better way to hide the clue? Here's the thing, like, it's Cole, what Cole did is Cole attempted to hide the clue, and it didn't work out for him, but he did something. Everyone would be crucifying him if he did absolutely nothing. Ryan just did a better version of what he did. Yeah,
absolutely. You got to remember too, there was almost no spaghetti left by the time Ryan went. So he probably had a couple more ideas in his head.
Yeah.
Cole's trying to make it look as normal as possible with the amount of food that was left.
Survivor Patty, do you think Ben telling his Marine story will endanger himself as a threat to take to the end? Will Ryan or possibly Devin pick up and want him gone? I don't know about who would pick up on that, but that very well could be an option of why people would want to get rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it could definitely be something towards the end where he's got a great story. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Gamer Girl, is this season turning out like Millennials versus Gen X where all the girls are going? Only 2 guys have gone so far.
Four in a row? 4 girls in a row?
4 girls in a row. I mean, I think with Chrissy and Lauren, you're looking at end gamers, though. And I don't know where Ashley's going to finish, but with Chrissy and Lauren, I'd be really surprised if a girl went next week. Just because I feel like now we're down to – I was saying at the beginning a girl's going to win this season. The only woman I can see winning this season is Lauren, which is crazy. Like, I could really see Lauren winning this.
I think Lauren or Chrissy could win.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I think Chrissy can get her allies' votes, but anybody that she wasn't closely allied with, I think she's going to have a hard time. And plus, if she gets to the end, either Ben or Ryan is going to be on that jury. And I think Chrissy's playing cutthroat of a game, enough of a game where she could be the one who – is the reason that they go to that jury.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Gamer Girl, how did no one notice Ben in the trees? Ben's spy shack was worse than Tony. That was so funny. He must have really been like right behind them because no one noticed. So
yeah, funny. And like maybe this was the camera angle, but it looked like Devin was looking he was facing the exact direction of Ben, and Ben is like a pretty big dude with a gigantic hat. So
and beard.
And beard, and tattoos. So yeah, you would think that one of them would have got him.
And he's not green. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Giovanni Oriana, not for nothing, which he loves saying that. Not for nothing, but let's thank Survivor for giving us a reason to watch people eat spaghetti, because this episode was action-packed. Another thing that was like worth mentioning is there was like not a lot of spaghetti. They got like one bottle of wine.
Yeah, they got like one bottle of wine, but I think they almost wanted it to be like, oh, by the time you're like the fifth person going up there and there's only like a little bit of wine left and a little bit of spaghetti, you're starting to say to yourself, wait, was there more? Am I missing something? I think they kind of wanted that thought in the head to create suspicion.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, because Ryan was like munching on that Caesar salad. So
yeah, and really put some pressure on the person who goes first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also it's Devin's birthday, so good for him for munching.
Yeah, he gets to go first. That's cool.
Yeah.
Larry Miller, whoever said Survivor is fair, try telling that to Desi. And then Giovanni says, this season might become better than Millennials versus Gen X. Is that a hot take? It's a hot wrong take. Yes, that's a hot take.
One quick thing about Larry Miller, because I obviously was pretty upset that Desi went home. And I said this to Phil before we went live, but it was frustrating for someone like Desi to go home because she was aligned with someone who she didn't want to be attached to, and because she went home because of his actions. But that is how Survivor works, and it sucks that it happened to her. It sucks that it happened to Jessica. It sucks that it's happened to dozens of survivors in the past. But unfortunately, this game is not fair.
That's how it goes.
And life isn't either.
There you go. That's how it goes.
Sorry. I'll go. Larry Miller, quick question. Is Ben secretly Tony's twin, who was separated at birth and led a different life because he was spy shacking the crap out of Joey Unamazing? Wow. Yeah, I don't know. Ben's got to like dig around and like make more of a shack, but he's learning. He's
getting there. I like the Melissa McCarthy Spicer thing that we got.
Oh my god, that was awesome.
But Ice X, wow, what was that preview with the Mad Dirt Dive, the greatest red herring ever? These editors are on a serious roll this season. That was great because this was finally one of those where you're like, okay, we know that there's going to be now we know that the idol's going to be there, and we know that Cole and Chrissy are going to wrestle for it. But now knowing that while we were watching the preview last week, Ryan was standing there with these really super short shorts on and an idol in his pants, which is so funny because you would think this idol sticking out like crazy considering his heart is beating literally through his body.
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about that.
You can see it. So like, it's really crazy that like that idol was just the perfect size to not fall out of his tiny pink running shorts. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, that we didn't even talk about the heartbeat. That was
disturbing.
That was absolutely crazy. Yeah, that was a great red herring, especially because so many like this theory that Chrissy hit her fake idol was getting so much traction. But this was great.
Yeah. And then Jar Jar Mink says, ugh, if anyone would have told Desi that they were voting Joe, she would still be there. Probably would have voted Joe out too instead of her wasting her vote by randomly going Lauren. Dr. Mike, why didn't you tell her? Probably because they were scared that Desi and Joe were really tight and that Desi would tell Joe to play an idol or something. That's what they were probably worried about. They're probably worried about multiple idols.
Yeah, which is funny because Desi did not seem to be particularly close to Joe. In terms of why Dr. Mike didn't tell her, I think Dr. Mike is jumping ship, and you have to do that alone when the only two people are left are really disliked by the rest of the tribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Survivor Patty replying to my photo with Trish from tonight. Yeah, I would love to have Trish Haggerty on the podcast someday. Trish, if you're listening, we'd love to have you. Yeah, I thought we of us.
Yeah.
Massive.
She never listened. Has she?
Enormous fan. No, she probably hasn't. but she was a lot of fun tonight. Like she was super funny. Obviously, I loved hearing her accent in a sea of New York accents. But she was great. Like Trisha, we'd love to have you on if you're listening this far.
Yeah. Who we got next? We got Gamer Girl. Why do you think they changed the episode title from Knights of the Round Table to Playing with the Devil? I don't know. Playing with the Devil just sounds cool.
I think they actually did this because Knights of the Round Table has been an episode title before. Do you actually know who said that? Because I did all the prep ed stuff, but I don't remember who said this.
Yeah, Joe did.
Okay.
Joe said that, and then Desi had 11 votes.
Oh.
Fun
Okay.
fact.
Desi 11 votes. So with that, we have Ryan getting hit immunity idol. Joe got the episode title. Desi got voted out with no words. Desi made the jury. And Desi got 11 votes.
Yeah, and there were no hashtags.
And Desi got a lot tonight.
Yep. Let's see here. We got Ice X. Second time Cole was first to figure out the idol clue without ending up with either of them. It's very true.
Poor guy. Ice X again at tribal council. Do you think that even the heroic actuary Chrissy missed the fact that one vote was missing? Apparently not.
Apparently she didn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I hope they talk about that at the reunion.
They have to.
Yeah, they will.
Ice X, how quick-witted was Christy to make it look like the idol hadn't been found yet? Ryan even fake looked for the idol for a few seconds. She really didn't think it had been found yet. I'm not thinking that she was faking. I think she really didn't think it had been found yet.
Yeah, I couldn't tell on that. I think that I don't know. I would.
She was digging, not burying, before Cole even got there. Because Ryan said cover it up, and she was going to town.
Going to town on it. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll have to talk to Chrissy and Ryan and see what the dealio was on that. Because Ryan said covered up and she said what? And then he had to say it again. So there was probably just she probably didn't hear him the first go around.
Definitely.
Giovanni Oriana, did the healers have a shot? Because I don't think anyone would let Mike get to the end. See, I think people would let Mike get to the end because I think they're really underestimating him.
Yeah, I think they're underestimating him because they don't even think he has an idol. They're not really thinking too much about him. It's interesting, with Mike, he's probably the only one out of those three who can actually win the game, but I don't think that he's going to win the game. And once again, the last tribe to lose a member ends up losing. You know what I mean? It's one of those where this tribe that doesn't go to tribal and they're sticking together all the way to a merge or something like that. We saw it happen with Tang Dang or whatever. Not Tang Dang. What's the name of the yellow tribe? Is it Tang Dang? I don't know.
It was Tang Dang.
It was Tang Dang. You see it happen a lot where these tribes that stick together all the way to the end, they end up having to eat themselves early. You saw it with Galoo. You saw it with in Tocantins, whatever the name of that tribe was, even though they had voted out a couple people. It's just sometimes you see these tribes with bigger numbers, they end up wearing themselves out. And Jessica was the only one that I really thought from that tribe had a chance to win the entire time, and she's not even on the jury. So what the hell do I know? Ice X says, when Lauren used her advantage, do you think the person voted awful knows the extra vote go, hey, wait a minute. Maybe they'll figure it out. Maybe Desi's sitting there going, damn, something happened, but I doubt it. At that point, she's probably so out of her mind.
Yeah, well, in her Ponderosa, she says, I know a healer flipped, but she didn't say anything about the number of votes. But I think someone would notice that because it's going to happen with less people. Because if this happens at a final 5 vote, you're going to know if there are 6 votes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's way different. Yeah. But when it's this many, yeah, that makes sense. Last comment.
Larry Miller, 3 women are left and only one of them is young. I guess young is a relative term because Lauren and Parvati are the same age. But
which is mind-blowing. But I just think it's funny, everybody's complaining that this season was a young, it's all young people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, Ben, I feel is older than he acts. Chrissy acts, I could see her being in her 40s. Joe is 34. Lauren's 35. And you got Mike. I mean, out of there's 10 people left. And really, it seems like an older group is left, even though they don't necessarily, their age isn't necessarily old, but they have older personalities. Mm-hmm. Chrissy and Lauren and Ben and Mike have very old personalities. I
feel like Chrissy could be hip and with it. I think as a 24-year-old, I just said hip and with it. So
yeah, I think Chrissy's the mom who still hangs out with the younger girls, but at the same time, she's still the mom. Does that make sense? That's a shout out to my own mother there. You know what I mean? It's one of those where it's hey, I can get along with, my daughter and her college friends, but at the same time, I'm still the mom. I feel that's Chrissy. So
see, my mom is way cooler than me and all my friends know it. So
yeah, everybody loves your mom. So, but even JP, he acts JP doesn't seem like a 28-year-old guy. Devin seems young. Ryan seems young. JP, I'm not buying it. Joe, he seems old.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm buying with JP.
Half the cast is older. Anyway, that's
anyways.
It.
Yeah, that's it. Wow, it's 1:09 a.m. This was a good one. This was a really meaty episode. This was a This is a great episode. So yeah, I hope people like listen to our podcast and understand that like this is why we're liking the season, because we are getting some really, really great character development. But with that, leave a comment on this video, vote for MVP, LVP on this video, or tweet at us. It'd be easier if you have it here. Phil is probably going to write his 5 tonight. Yes, no?
I am. I'm going to write something up. It probably won't be very long, but I'm going to write about the reward. I'm going to write about probably Joe. Probably going to write about Desi being the first person. Yeah.
Cool. So with that, Phil will be writing his 5 tonight. So look out for that on Facebook and Twitter tonight. So vote for MVP, LVP, and then I'll be writing Spotlight on that after our predictions episode on Sunday. So leave a comment on this video, tweet at us. On Friday or Saturday, I'll be posting the fantasy game standings. So in the meantime, watch this video, tell your friends, like us on Facebook, tweet at us, like us on Twitter, all these social media, listen to us on iTunes, and we will be back on Sunday with our episode 9, predictions and power rankings.
Yes, I changed this to episode 8. It was originally episode 7, Alexa.
Oh, I got lazy.
Throwing you under the bus.
Oh, no, I got so lazy with that.
Well, just saying. All right, that's it. Alexa, you also have to close it out because you started.
Okay. You guys don't want to hear Phil and I small talking. Good night.